All right, guys, thank you for joining us today. This is Chris Emke and special guest,
Nick Priegnitz.
We are doing something a little different today. We don't have Paul Wilson on site. How do you feel about that, Nick?
I mean, I'm a little disappointed in Paul not being here, but I'm happy to be here, Chris, and to
Okay,
support
cool.
you.
Just making sure. We have a lot of exciting things going on. You know, we talk about ahead of time, you know, doing these podcasts and outlines and things like that. We've had a lot of crazy things going on here over at CPS over the last few weeks.
If by crazy you mean transfer cases landing on the track, twisted pretzel drive shafts, new turbochargers, projects, and all sorts of fun shit, then yes, it's been crazy.
Little four bangers making nasty power.
200 horsepower in a Jeep is pretty cool.
Hold on. We'll get into that.
Sorry. Don't
top
tease the people.
Top of the list. So this weekend when this airs, Alligator Performance is doing their Hunting for Horsepower event that they do every year. You've been to that event before, correct?
A couple times, yeah.
Okay. What is that event? What does that look like?
It's a combination dirt drag, sled pull, and vendor alley and dyno competition. So mostly all day is kind of like a dyno shootout.
Okay.
And there's a vendor alley. A lot of people walking around, talking to vendors, you know, shooting the shit. There's a big dyno competition in the morning, and then afternoon comes around, you got dirt drags. So you got truck dirt drags, you got buggies, Honda Civics.
Wow.
Razors, whatever, man. We had a lot of fun at the dirt drags last year there.
So we have a few people from our staff up there. A couple of the guys left Tuesday morning. They took the F450 and the L5P on a trailer with our booth.
Yep.
And then a couple of the other guys flew out this morning, actually.
Yeah, so they'll be out there with our booth.
Yesterday morning. They
will be set up at the Alligator event. They'll also be dirt dragging. They brought the F450, so that is the
reigning champ last year.
Reigning champ for the stock turbo class.
Hell yeah.
Go figure. And they also brought the L5P. So the white L5P, just tune-only truck with kind of like sled pull setup, the one that Hager's been sled pulling this year. So they're going to run that. There's some classes kind of focused on emissions-equipped power up there this year. So they're going to run the sled pull class with the L5P. And the dirt drags, and then the dirt drags with the 450. I don't know if they're going to sled pull the 450 or not, but they're going to run the shit out of those trucks.
I mean, the gentleman that pilots the F450 is no stranger to breaking stuff. So I think from a strategic side of things, he probably not sled pull that truck.
Timmy had a big weekend last weekend.
He did. He's got
a little bit of history, but he is a good driver. I mean,
phenomenal driver.
You got to give the guy credit.
I know. As long as there's no weight behind him, he's good.
True story.
So, speaking of last weekend, you know, being a big weekend, one of the trucks that was actually going to go to the Hunting for Horsepower that unfortunately wasn't able to make it was a truck that within our company we've always deemed it as the UCC truck for its intended purpose when we were building it. We have now decided to refer to that truck as the Big Block Cummins, per you, Nick. First time we had the truck out at the track.
What a blast, man.
What the hell?
Let's just take it step by step. So, I mean, this is probably the third pull that we have planned to take the truck to this year. I wanted to take it to a smaller event just because of the logistics of moving that truck around and the risks associated with it. The truck has been in the making since winter of 2015. Yeah. First Cummins forum post was in the beginning of 2016, so it's been a 3-year project. A couple $1,000s spent on that one.
Well, for our newer listeners, right? There's a lot of people that, you know, there's no secret. Some guys have given us flack that we made this big splash and talked and hyped up the truck, and then it kind of went on the back burner. When you do a project of this caliber, it takes time. So, for old listeners, new listeners, what is the setup? What is this Big Block Cummins?
What is the truck? The truck is a 2011 cabin chassis 3500 Dodge Ram, right? It's been lengthened. It had a flatbed on it. Originally, the flatbed was removed, and a 10-foot bed was custom built by my buddy Brett over at Precision Body. Put two beds together to make a custom 10-foot bed. So it's a regular cab truck, 10-foot bed. It's a dually. It's got what started life as an ISC or an ISL, depending on which build you go with. This is the second round for the motor. Medium duty, 8.9 liter engine, bigger sleeves, essentially a 10-liter engine. It's got IH rods. It's got a custom oiling system. It's got 3 S500 turbochargers. All fabrication stuff was built by Worley. It's got an air-to-water intercooler on it. The radiator's been relocated to the bed because the engine's so fucking huge. It's 600 cubic inches. Did I say that once already? Because it's 600 cubic inches. Cool.
It packages well in the engine bay, by the way.
I mean, it fills it up.
Yeah.
It makes it look like like a Benz. You know what I mean? Like normally a Cummins, you got a lot of room to work, and that thing's just like stuffed. Those turbos are huge. I mean, 3 S500 turbochargers. Those are big turbos if you've never seen one. Fuel systems, 2 14-millimeter CP3 pumps. They're overdriven. They're on the front of the engine. They're cog drive, and that was built by Worley. Those are Exergy's pumps. And then Exergy did the injectors as well. And I honestly don't remember what the hell they are. I think they're 400 overs.
Okay.
But they could be bigger. They could be smaller.
Okay.
I don't know.
Oh, so back in 2015 when you decided to do this project, some of our show sponsors, you kind of mentioned them, Exergy and Worley.
Yeah.
So once again, going to the drawing board and coming up with some crazy idea. I remember in 2013, 2014, you were talking about doing something like this, and you wouldn't stop talking about it.
Yeah.
A couple years go by, you start this project, and then you team up with, who you'd consider best of the best as far as fabrication, fuel systems. And at the time, Exergy had never modified a set of injectors of that engine before, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, they had not seen that engine. They had not seen injectors out of that engine. I mean, to back up to your point there, yeah, I mean, we had just started the heavy-duty tuning side of the business in 2013, 2014, and we kind of seen how similar the bigger Cummins were to the smaller Cummins, and just the idea of, like, what if? Why can't we do that? Like, why can't we put a 9-liter engine in a regular truck, you know? And then the UCC came out with their opener year, and that was kind of the opportunity, like, hey, we could spend some money on something stupid and see if it works. And so the project was hatched. Yeah, Exergy had never, done anything like that. Of course, the ISL engine has a different fuel pump stock. It's a monster. It's oily. It's I don't know what they even call it, but it takes engine oil.
So oil cooled.
Engine oil, whatever. But I don't know what the capacity of that pump is. They don't know. I didn't know. We didn't have the time to do R&D on it, so it was like, we'll work with what we know. We know 2 CP3s at 14 millimeters will feed 2,000 horsepower. Yep. So that's what we went with. Worley custom built the exhaust manifold. Yep. Custom built all the plumbing, the air-to-water setup. I mean, there is piping for days on that thing. Underneath
the truck, in the bed of the truck, in the engine compartment of the truck, going over from one side of the motor to the other side of the motor of the truck. I mean, everywhere you go.
You got air-to-water, you got the radiator in the bed, you got the fuel system, 2 fast 200s, some crazy fuel system on it. It's funny, after like 4 years, you just kind of forget some of the things that are done to it, Yeah. And, a big part of it was just getting it to run. Because the reluctor wheel count was different. I mean, it's running on the stock ECU out of the truck with that other engine.
So it's running a CMD, right, a 2200?
Yeah, it's running the bastard stepchild. Yep. I mean, 2011 cabin chassis was a special
special breed.
Special ECM. So, yeah, CM 2200.
We're going to call that ECM Paul.
Paul would appreciate that. Truck first ran in... 2017?
Yeah, I would say, originally it was supposed to go to the first UCC in Indiana.
Didn't make the first UCC, not even close. Almost made the second one.
Oh, I'm sorry, the second one it was supposed to go to.
Almost made the second one, scattered on the dyno.
Day before, yep.
That was at 1,600 horsepower, stock connecting rods, compressed.
Yeah, what RPM? That was a low RPM.
It was like 2,400 RPM, 3,200 foot-pounds. Yeah. That was hell. That was a very expensive nightmare. So I kind of pushed it into the corner and was like...
middle finger a couple times, like, I'm out.
Yes. You can only deal with so much. Yeah. So off that goes into a place where I can not look at it for a while. And then 2 years later, got it back up and going. Fresh motor, rocking and rolling. It's got a 48 RE with a manual valve body behind it. Stock transfer case with the upgraded shafts. I mean, you know more about the trans than I do in it. You guys kind of spec'd all that out. Stock rear end, stock front end, stock size, I should say. Bigger axles, 342 gears, lockers, air locker in the front. I mean, the truck is a monster. It's literally a freaking monster. It's got semi wheels. It's got...
Yeah, I mean, what what was really mind-blowing to me is, the truck spent some time on the dyno recently, and I was up here last weekend, and they were a couple of the guys that, that play around. They were cleaning, getting ready for sled pull.
Yeah.
And I had the bright idea to go take it out on the street. So went and took it for a little drive, took my daughter kind of up and down the lot here, the street here. And it's crazy how those turbochargers come to life and how important engine displacement is.
Yeah, it's night and day, man. I mean, you have an Evo, Chris. It has 2 liters. It has a 64 or 67.
Yeah, it has a 64 millimeter charger on it.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't come to life until, what, 4,000, 5,000 RPM?
5,000, yep.
Sure. You double the displacement, right?
Yeah, that would have been 2,500, 3,000 for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the S500 is a 91 mil and it's got a 145 AR. So if you're in the business, that is the huge AR.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way you're going to get that thing to spool.
Yeah, I mean, that engine gets that turbocharger in motion by 1,300, 1,400. Like, it drives very, very well. Like, what? Like,
Right.
what's going on here?
Yeah, it's crazy how quick that thing comes to life.
Yep. I mean, that engine's not playing with a ton of RPM either. It's not like these pickup truck motors where they're revving them out to 5,000, 6,000, RPM. It's not like that. 3,000 RPM, the motor's done.
Yeah, I mean, we have the rev limiter set at 3,500. I don't know how high it will go. Mm-hmm. It might be happy at 4,000. I don't know. I kind of just wanted to, like you said, you run the dyno. I had the guys running the dyno. We were 1,200 horsepower on the dyno. The thing was cool as a cucumber. Like, there was no drama. It was like, that feels like a really nice tune. Let's just run it down the track and see what it's got.
So fast forward Sunday.
Fast forward to Sunday. Showed up Sunday with that tune, right? Yep. And get it off the trailer, get it going. I mean, everything feels good. People in the pits are smiling. Everybody's loving the truck. I mean, the truck had a really warm reception. I really appreciate the fans out there supporting it still.
The thing is, being there and watching as a spectator and seeing how everyone reacted, you're in an area where guys live and breathe diesel engines. Right, yep. They know the sound of a 6.7. They know the sound of a 5.9. They know the sound of a 6.6. And all of a sudden, this Frankenstein monstrosity comes pulling in, and the truck has its own unique sound.
It does not sound like a Cummins.
And you have this mosquito fogger coming out the tailpipe, just puffing, chugging along. It's a sight to be seen, a sight to hear.
Yeah. It has a definite, distinct idle, and then coming up on boost. I mean. Yeah.
So a lot of our listeners, if you've seen, go on our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, there was a video that went live that we had, published.
Is that on Instagram?
It's on all. Yes, it's on all of them.
Okay.
All of our social media channels.
Justin was one that published it, so he would know, right?
Working the soundboard. Thanks for the chime in, Justin.
So walk us through. So you go up, you pulled in the Expedition class.
Exhibition class.
Exhibition?
Yes. Expedition.
It's all the same?
So the class that I ran is Worley's Max Street, Hot Street class, right? So 8,000-pound trucks, run what you brung. I mean, Worley's truck is probably 1,100 horsepower. Yeah. Some really nasty trucks. The Mach Brothers got a solid long bed.
Yeah, that thing was nasty going down the track.
Yeah. So I lined up there. There's, I think, 8 trucks, ran at the end of the class, pulled up, 4 low, turned on the air locker, just, backed up to the trailer, started spooling it up, realized that I did not start my log file, had to pause, look down, start the log file, keep my cool, manually had it in second gear, and got it up to, 2,300 RPM. It felt like it really wanted to go, let off the brake, rolled into the throttle, and instantly locked the converter clutch up, and it just boiled the tires up to 3,500 RPM, hit the rev limiter, clicked it into third gear, and we were off, man. And that thing was just screaming. All I heard was turbocharger. And I'm looking at the tach, and it's showing 3,100 RPM and climbing. And I was looking down at the overdrive switch, about half track, thinking, yeah, do you think you can pull overdrive? Like, it's 0.75. And then by the time I thought that's a bad idea. Just keep it in drive. And kept it in drive, and it was humming. And then at the end of the track, got to a little bit of a bump, and I felt it kind of chatter like twice or 3 times, and then boom, and I heard I felt that same like big break that I felt on the dyno, like something big let go. I was like, no, not enough smoke to be a motor. And yep. So the flag guy's yelling at me to shut it down. I was like, well, it's still running. That's a good sign. And shut it off and hopped out and looked underneath, and there's a transfer case laying on the ground. So I've got the transfer case situation assessed, right? Transfer case broke off the tail shaft, or the
tail housing
of the trans, broke the... see, we had... pause. We had put a two-piece drive shaft in the truck for the UCC because we were planning on drag racing the truck.
Yep.
And you're not supposed to run a one-piece drive shaft at the trap speed that we were conceivably going to have to go to compete in the UCC. So a two-piece drive shaft was in the truck. Now, this was not a little stock two-piece drive shaft. This was a huge two-piece drive shaft.
Yeah.
Anyway, broke the first part of the two-piece drive shaft, pretzeled it up, and I think once that happened, that's when the carnage really, that's when the transfer case fell out.
So what's mind-boggling to me is you see the video, and the video doesn't do justice for seeing that truck in person. 80 feet out, the truck didn't sound like much. It was moving, but it wasn't cooking, right? 80 feet out, you hear these turbochargers come to life, like maybe the two atmospherics just finally did the business.
Once I clicked into drive, the load came on it, and that's when you felt the...
And all you hear is like a jet plane coming down the track.
Of the atmosphere.
And you hear, you watch these trucks, and I mean, these 11, 12, 100 horse, pickup trucks are doing, 25, 26 mile an hour ground speed. That's the peak. They're not doing that ground speed the entire way down the track.
Sure.
So that illusion's a little off. Then you see this thing going down the track. I mean, it's hauling ass. That truck was cooking down the street or down the track. And you see the frame where the cab and the bed meet. It's flexing. Like any badass thing you see in sled pulling was going on during this run, right?
Yeah.
And then it just comes to a complete halt. And then you see a transfer case just drop, and it's dangling by a wiring harness. And then you come out, you take your helmet off, you look down, and then you're ecstatic. Like, that's a good thing. That is a good thing. The engine's still in one piece. Adrenaline.
A lot of adrenaline. A lot of adrenaline. I mean, we had talked about having somebody else run the truck. I like to let you guys run run the trucks. I don't think that's any secret around the business that I like to let the guys run the trucks. I think it's fun. It drives morale. It makes them, gives you something to look forward to. But I knew that if somebody drove that truck and broke it, that I would probably
kill him.
Probably wouldn't be too happy about it. So
what the fuck?
Probably would be smart just to, the first time down the track at least, to do it myself.
Let you break it.
If I break it, I got nobody to be upset about. But the run felt so awesome. I mean, it went further than, not that it was in the rule book of the other trucks, but it went further than the class. It felt great. At the cost of a couple new shafts and whatever. I mean, we got probably $2,500 into fixing it, and I'm okay with that. It was a good run.
Yeah, I mean, and it's going to go out again. This isn't the last that anyone's going to see the truck. We'll get more footage of the truck as it moves forward, and the build's going to mature. Yeah. We think we have a fairly solid, power plant now. So now we're going to find all the other loose ends along the way.
The truck's made a bunch of dyno pulls at that power level. I mean, look, 1,200 horsepower in the dyno. I mean, you've been in the motorsport. It's nothing crazy, right? I'm sure the truck was making more than that going down the track. How much more, I don't know. It certainly was not at 2,000 horsepower. Mm-hmm. But I think there's opportunity to turn it up a little bit.
Absolutely.
I mean, we were at 17 degrees of timing and 1,800 microseconds. I mean, it was pretty tame. Yeah. Pretty tame tune-up. So, it was good. It was like 3 days to come off of that adrenaline rush.
Oh, I'm sure. One of the other things that has been going on in the R&D department, something that when you first started getting involved in this, I didn't get it. There's been a couple projects that you've gotten involved in or wanted to get involved in, and I look at you and I go, I don't understand. I think this is dumb. And then you always seem to prove me wrong. But that's the Mahindra Roxor.
Yeah.
So, little, background. Mahindra, about a year and a half ago now, right? They came 2 years, maybe.
Yeah, I think this is the second or third model year.
Okay. So So 2017. Okay. So 2017, Mahindra, company out of India. They're big in the ag world, diesel engines, things like that in general. Yeah. They bring a Jeep-looking vehicle stateside. They're sold in a lot of like motorsport, ATV style markets, if you will. Yep. And super badass. All of 50 horsepower, 5-speed manual trans. They came with just 2 seats. You couldn't get a windshield. And over the last few years, upgrades and different dealer options have come out.
Yeah, it's a Lego, man. It's something you build to accessorize.
Yeah.
Like, not that I like to use that word around guy toys, but it's something it's a cool ass thing to buy, and you just bolt parts on it. Windshields,
and they make
winches, whatever.
Everything and anything for this.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole aftermarket that's sprouted up around these things, and they're wildly popular in the off-road world. I think they got look at how popular the Jeep is, right?
Yeah.
You bring the 1940s Jeep back in at a price point that's half of a baseline Jeep Wrangler, and it's a diesel. I mean,
yeah, home run.
Yeah.
Home run. So out of all of that, I don't know what its direct competitor is in the market space. If you ask me, I look at that. I look at like a Razor. I look at a Can-Am. I look at these different, vehicles.
Yeah.
Again, some differences. There's some comparisons. But 50 horsepower, right?
50
They
horsepower.
make 50 wheel horsepower.
God, they're awful fucking slow.
So, a couple years ago, you got one. We started some R&D.
Yeah.
We offered a couple of tunes on an ECM exchange. ECM comes in, we flash it, we send them back out.
Yep.
We learned a couple weak links along the way. The boost increase valve kit that's offered, the intake latch to help with boost leaks.
Yep.
And I mean, you're buying a $15,000 vehicle or a $12,000 vehicle, you get what you pay for. Simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
Then you decided that, hey, we're going to get into a couple other, projects, turbochargers, things like that. That truck, the Jeep, the Roxor, just got off the dyno recently. What kind of power? Originally, you didn't want to say anything, and then a day later, he's on the Roxor Facebook page like, hey, I got you. So where are we right now out of a 50 horsepower, wheel horsepower stock configuration to what?
Yeah, so they advertise 62 horsepower. They dyno 52 horsepower. We just got off the dyno at 196 wheel horsepower, which is easily over 200 horsepower at the crank. I think, we're over 400 foot-pounds now. Clearly, there's going to be a limitation to what a Dana 44 and all those driveline components can handle. I mean, a turned-up Razor or a turned-up, Can-Am is a 200 horsepower machine. Of course, they're lighter.
Yeah.
But and the Roxor has an archaic suspension, but it's basic. When you drive it, you have this feeling like I'm going on an adventure.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about.
Safari.
Yeah. It's fun. And it's fun to hit the bumps and get jostled around a little bit. I think that's what the machine's about. So, I enjoy the aftermarket. I enjoy turbochargers. I like tuning. Seems like a good fit.
Yeah.
So we did a turbocharger for it, a bigger turbocharger. Of course, guys who listen to this podcast and hear me are, of course, familiar with the Stealth program. I had to do a turbocharger that was bolt-in replacement. Bolt-in, no changes to the turbo. Turbocharger bolts right in. We modify the tune. We should probably mention the fuel system. So the stock fuel pump's a little bit on the soft side. So we did a CP3 pump conversion. But, extra air, extra fuel. It's the basic recipe for power.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't wait to get... So currently in intercooling fabrication.
Yeah, let's kind of... So we originally did a CP3 on it. We did the turbocharger.
Yeah.
We had this idea that we were going to pick up this power, get it on the dyno. What happens?
Yeah, we don't pick up the power we think we're supposed to pick up.
And after, I'd say, a week and a half, we were going back, kind of troubleshooting, looking at it.
Changing boost levels, changing fuel levels, changing timing, chasing it in the tune. Like, what is going on? This thing is just not making power.
So what was it?
It's the intercooler, man. You got to put an intercooler on it.
So it's restrictive.
No, it's hot.
Just the air itself. So we're heat soaking.
But if you set the boost number for 25 pounds of boost and you run the intake charge at 350 degrees, you're not going to get the same air mass that you're going to get at 80 degrees.
Okay.
So what we did is by putting the intercooler on it, we make the turbocharger that much more efficient. We make the air handling system that much more efficient, and we get the air mass into the engine way up.
Okay.
Once we have that air mass, we can couple it with our extra fuel.
Okay.
But some of that tuning time was also spent on the fuel pump conversion. So we had to remap the regulator and the M-prop on the fuel system. The Mahindra fuel system regulator maps totally different than the CP3. So we had to map all those tables out, chase that stuff in the background. So we had a bunch of regulator surge we were fighting with and trying to get the fuel system ironed out there too. But once we got that ironed out, we still didn't get the power that we thought we should have out of it. We picked up over 30 horsepower with an intercooler.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's big. And that's EGTs are way down.
Yeah.
I mean, all the benefits of an intercooler.
So I would assume Calibrated Power eventually is going to be offering somewhat of an upgraded kit, and intercooler pipes, turbo, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it'd be nice to bundle the whole kit together and have it be something that, I think these power sports dealers are interested probably in installing them, or other people, other shops around the area. If you can bundle a product together that offers nearly 200 horsepower out of a 50 horsepower machine, gearheads appreciate that.
Yeah. On the stealth topic, another thing. So I've worked in this organization now for 6 years. Early years here, we swore that we would never start Ford support, right? We're not getting into Fords.
We didn't swear. I don't think we swore.
We swore that it wasn't. You're like, I'm not doing that. Then, a couple years go by, you start R&Ding on the 6.7 platform, which has been, very promising. It's been a strong contender for us. And of course, the Stealth program is going to adopt turbochargers, and we're going to be supporting some of the turbochargers.
Sure.
So one of the new projects, right? I'll kind of let you bring it home and kind of discuss it. But what do we have going on in there?
We just got our first 67 G2 for the 6-liter Power Stroke.
6 liter.
6 liter.
So the 04 to 07.
03.
03 and a half. Okay, if you want to get technical. So 04 to 07, 6 liter Fords, offering a drop-in turbocharger with a lot of the technology that we have learned on the Duramax side.
Yeah. So much bigger turbine, much revised vane geometry and placement compared to probably anything else on the market. There's been drop-in turbos for the 6.0 for a long time. There's been a lot of stuff available for those trucks, but we've had such awesome success in the drivability and the response and the power on the 67 G2 on the Duramax side that I thought, nobody else is doing anything like this. We should try this out. So we just finished one. We got it on a local guy's truck who's got a built motor. And I'm going to tune my first 6-liter Ford.
Wow. So first ever 6-liter turbocharger, 67. First Huey injected truck. But we're not supporting Ford. But you never said that. You never said that.
Hey, if you want to know what the turbo can do, you got to tune the truck.
Absolutely. Got to know.
I don't know that we're going to tune 6-liter trucks as a matter of operating business, but I do want to know what the turbocharger is capable of, and I want to be able to coach other tuners out there.
Right.
What the dynamics are they need to consider with our turbocharger specifically so they can get the most out of it.
So to the listeners, what's else in the pipeline? There's a lot of other people out there that, request information on maybe some other platforms for turbo upgrades that we might not support at the moment. But what's the future look like for the Stealth program over at CPS?
Certainly interested in the EcoBoost market.
Okay.
Tuned quite a few 3.5 liter trucks recently here, getting familiar with those, getting familiar with the limitations of those factory turbochargers, the factory air handling systems. Just trying to, once you understand the limitations on the dyno and looking at log files and kind of seeing where the factory parts run out, I think you can, judge and base, how big you need to go, what the aftermarket needs, what the sweet spot is. I mean, you don't want to oversize, You don't want to build a 700 horsepower turbocharger for a 450 horsepower engine.
Right.
So I'm trying to get a good handle on what the EcoBoost platform needs, what the market's looking for. So I'm going to start looking down that avenue. The Can-Ams.
Wow.
Right? I like the Can-Am stuff. I like the RZRs, the Razors. I'm not committing to it, but I'm certainly looking at it.
Something you're going to look into.
Yeah.
How about anything more on the truck side of things? Any other turbo drop-ins that you're going to be looking into?
Yeah, we have some 6.4 Ford stuff that we're checking out. 6.7 Ford stuff that's moving. I think everybody who works with us is waiting for the HE351 VE turbocharger to finally make its way in. There's no shortage of opportunities out there.
No, absolutely not.
One thing I don't want to do is get so wrapped up in R&D that any of our consistency and throughput gets interrupted. So it's a matter of adding one, making sure everything's good, adding one, making sure everything's good, going back through it. HX35 guys, I mean, we have that stuff ready to cut.
Yeah. For the second gen Cummins truck.
We've tested a few of those already. We're pretty solid on that platform. So expect those to drop relatively soon here.
Cool. Anything else new at the CPS?
Isn't that enough, Chris?
I don't know, man. Okay. Well, Nick, I appreciate you taking some time talking about your money endeavors with the UCC Big Block truck and, letting, myself and a couple of the guys here, sled pull throughout the year and not talk about the carnage that we had. Maybe they'll be in another podcast.
Yeah, it's the way it goes.
Yeah. And, the Roxor stuff, I've, again, been in that, driven it. It's a lot of fun. I'm really excited to see the finished product with some of the stuff we have going on with that. And, the turbochargers, I'm always excited with the Stealth line, seeing what's new, what's improving, and even the turbos that we currently have out, we're always finding little ways to improve on that for, our customers. So
it's a continuously improving system. I think that's what the aftermarket is.
Cool.
It's always getting better. But there's a reason for that. You got to be on the cutting edge if you want to be competitive. Anybody who's interested in the Cummins Big Block build can definitely find it on cumminsforum.com. It's, I think, the most viewed thread they've ever had. It's just search Big Block Cummins. If you want to know more about Mahindra and the Roxor, check out the Mahindra Roxor Enthusiast Facebook page. If you just search on Facebook for anything on the Mahindra Roxor, we post updates on our Duramax Tuner Facebook page
and
Calibrated and Instagram. Yep.
And of course, if anyone has questions, you can call the shop, 815-568-7920.
Hell yeah.
So, feel free to call and ask. But for today, thanks for listening, guys. This has been Chris.
And I'm Nick.
And what are you not supposed to talk about on the podcast?
Eating ass.